All right, so good morning. And we will have a belt or strap today, as well as a block. And we will start out lying on that block with the block under the sacrum. So here we are, falling down onto the mat, putting the block underneath the legs. We are not actually going to use the belt in this first little beginning section. So we don't want it far away, but it doesn't have to be right by you. Anyway, here we are on the floor on your mat. Take a nice big inhale and exhale, letting go. Let's do that again. A nice deep breath and the letting go. Exhale out the mouth. Maybe once more. And then lifting up, sliding the block under the sacrum and sliding those legs out to straight. And you can always give a little push on the block with your hands, getting a little traction through the lower back. Whatever other little things you want to do to get settled in here. And then starting to, with each breath, cooperate a little more with the block. Inhale and exhale with a little bit more focus and purpose, taking the shape the block is putting you into. Bringing the legs right together or hip distance apart, very parallel. Standing on the opposite wall, rolling up through the abdominal muscles towards your head, stretching yourself over the block. And then checking in with your breath. Inhaling and exhaling. And we'll take a few more breaths here. And bending the knees, lifting up off the block, taking the block out, rolling down vertebrae by vertebrae, melting into the earth. And then let's take our block and we'll put the block between the knees. Whatever distance makes your knees about hip distance apart. All right, let's come up in the bridge pose. So give that block a little squeeze and come up. Inhale and exhale. On the exhale, A little more intently squeezing the block, feeling a drawing up of the inner thighs into the pelvic floor, through the core, into the shoulders, into the floor. And there's a little feeling of the shins and knees pressing toward the opposite wall in the opposite direction. So even though our bridge pose is more of a lifting up direction, there's still a stretching long. Knees and shins forward, inner thighs through the core back towards you. And then rolling down vertebrae by vertebrae. Letting go, taking the block out, sole to the feet together, knees out to the side. Supta Baddha Konasana. Inhaling into the lower belly, exhale, pouring out those inner thighs, out the knees. Unsqueezing the block. And really pressing those feet together, feeling the outer edges of the feet along the floor. And we'll bring the arms alongside with the palms down, bridge pose arms. And lifting that pelvis an inch or two off the floor. Pressing down with the outer knees, try not to let the legs come toward each other too much anyway, and lifting up, finding a good balance point there between the press down and the lift up. Pulling the knees wide to the sides. And then rolling yourself down vertebrae by vertebrae as best you can in this shape. And let everything soften, and we'll do that again. We'll lift up and hold 3 or 4 breaths. All right, soles of the feet together, standing on the outer edges of the feet as we lift up. And breathing, feeling what's going on, the pressing down, the lifting up, how that's making things work in that gluteus maximus. What's happening in the core, what's happening with your breathing. And down. Letting go. Sliding the legs out to straight, stretching the arms up overhead. And then bending the knees, pulling the knees to the nose, making a little rounded like a ball shape. And if it's all right with your spine, we'll take a few rolling up and downs. Or if it's not, you can be down here on the floor doing a little squinging with the knees there into the lower back. All right, so here we are, rolling up and down. Maybe just rolling a little there on the floor. And then we will finish up. And sitting in Sukhasana with the crossed legs. Using the arms alongside, lengthening up, feeling space coming between the vertebrae. space in the hip sockets, whatever little shifting and squinging you want to do. And then finishing with that shifting and squinging and letting the hands rest on the knees. Inhale and exhale, pouring down the sides of the neck off the tops of the shoulders, lifting through the center line. Especially if you've heard me say that 100,000 times, really doing it. This moment today, that pouring down and extending up. Softening or closing your eyes. Bringing all your attention to the breath once again. We're always coming around and bringing our attention to the breath. Reach wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. Breathing the arms up overhead. Breathing them down. Let's do that twice more. Breathing them up, feeling the shoulder blades in the back, connecting to the core. And then once more. Changing the cross of the legs. And let's come forward and over, breathing across the back of the body. Inhale and exhale. And then tongue up, unfurling the spine vertebrae by vertebrae back up on top of the sitting bones. Inhale and exhale. And then let's pull those legs out to Pada Konasana, soles of the feet together, knees out to the side. And we'll go to Bharad Vajrasana, a little like we did last week. That's the twist where we bring the legs together. So I'm the right left mirror at the moment. So let's take our arms to the side a little bit behind. Then we're going to take the left arm and the left leg up and over, folding them around, bringing the left hand to the right knee, twisting to the right. Inhale, lots of space. Exhale, deepening into the space. And then reaching up with the left arm and the left knee, coming back into a Baddha Konasana, using the arms behind to give yourself a little lift there. And then bringing the right leg and the right arm up and over, twisting to the left, right hand to the left. And let's pick that right arm and right leg up, come back, and we'll do that once more. In the center, letting those arms behind you help. And then left sides come up and over, twisting to the right. And then the left sides pick back up. We'll lift in the center. And then right sides up and over, twisting to the left. And lifting those right sides up and over, back to the center. And then we'll slide those legs out to Konasana, the angle pose. And coming forward, you can use the press from behind, hands on the legs, hands in front. Inhaling into the center of the body, exhale, pouring out. Nice big yawn with the back of the knees along the floor. Letting yourself be as you are at this moment in this pose. And for some of us, this can be very challenging pose, but just doing what you can. Working with coming forward, a little stretch in the lower back and outer hips, or maybe being more vertical and keeping those legs really straight, pressing the backs of the legs down. Whatever feels like the challenging part of your body that you want to work with today. Or maybe what feels like the easeful part of your body and you want to work with that part today. All right, taking a few more breaths here. And come up. We'll reach through those feet again. And then we will bring the legs in. And let's come around onto all fours. And we'll go into the half downward facing dog. So walking the knees back so they're a little bit wide for a usual all fours. And then pulling those hips up and back. So it's like we're reaching for child's pose, but we're not getting there. So we've made the upper body of the downward facing dog, and then really press the hands into the floor, feeling the lift from that lower arm, the inside of the lower arm, doing the press up even as your head reaches down. The whole back of the arm actually is being able to press toward the ceiling, setting our arms up for downward facing dog. And then feeling a little pull, like you're trying to pull the hands forward or hands back and knees forward. And then we'll come up out of that, tuck those toes under, coming up into downward facing dog. So taking a moment in that small dog, or sometimes it's called anahatasana, the heart pose, or the puppy pose. I think that I do that almost every time we're coming into downward facing dog. I do that briefly. If that seemed useful, that's something you can just put in whenever you feel you need it. Either as a getting your arms and shoulders more set up for downward facing dog, or maybe you're not going to do the full downward facing dog this today, or maybe not yet in class. Anyway, we're walking the dog or anything else you want to do. And then finishing with your dog walking, being in the best downward facing dog of this moment, nothing moving but the breath. Coming down, sitting back in child's pose. And we will slide forward onto our stomach into the Sphinx. Pulling back with the forearms, pulling forward with the center line, reaching back through the toe. Couple more breaths here, maybe lifting the elbows. And calming down, taking a breath or two here, letting the back of the body melt off into the floor. And making our way back up to downward facing dog. And going through the Vinyasa, or not any sort of version. And then there we all are, downward facing dog. And we will lift our right leg up, reaching long through the right heel, reaching down through the left. Bending the knee dog at the high fire hydrants. And through to the lunge. This long line from the top of the head out the left heel. And then bringing that left knee down with strength and into Anjayasana, the kneeling. Breathing the arms around in the big circle all the way back up overhead. And Namaste. And let's step forward. Into the concave, back halfway up. And folding over. Coming up to standing, big front body yawn. And pressing the arms down long through the top of the head. And let's circle those shoulders 3 times front to the back. Inhaling and exhaling, maybe a 4th time if you want. And then we'll interlock the fingers behind, lengthening up the front of the body to lift the chest, to lift the chin. Lift a little more and coming forward and over. And releasing the hands. A little concave back. Inhale and exhale. And then we'll go back through the vinyasa, the downward facing dog. And we'll do that nice simple little sequence on the left. All right, here we are in downward facing dog. And we will lift our left leg up. Bending the knee dog at the high fire hydrant. And through to the lunge. Being here a moment in the low lunge, making that right back leg really strong. And then easing the right knee down, and Jayasana. Breathing the arms all the way around and back up overhead. And Namaste. Stepping forward. Into the concave back halfway up. Holding over. And coming up to standing, big front body long. And pressing the arms down along through the top of the head. Let's circle the shoulders back to the front. And 3 times of that. And then we'll do one more front to the back to interlock the fingers, lengthening up the front of the body to lift the chest, to lift the chin. Lift a little more and coming forward and releasing the hands. Concave back and now a little differently. Bending the knees, sitting down on the floor, sliding the legs out to straight. So now we're going to have our belt nearby. We're going to be coming down to the floor. So make sure you have enough room on the mat behind you. Bringing the arms up and rolling down. 8, 7, 6, maybe getting hold of the legs and the sides of the mat if you want. 5, 4. Doesn't matter if you run out of numbers and you're not on the floor yet. Just keep going slowly. 3, 2, 1. We'll stretch overhead with the arms. And then we will bend the right leg in, reaching long through the left heel along the floor. And belt around the right foot, extending the right leg up to the ceiling. Reaching long through both legs, breathing up through the back of the right leg, out through the heel. And then belt into the right hand, and we'll take that right leg out to the diagonal side. Finding where it will go at this moment. Letting your body arrive there. And then maybe going for a little more stretch, a little more extend if you want, or a little more refinement of the alignment. Maybe a little less tension in the face of the jaw. A little more press out through both heels, trying to anchor that left hip bone down just a little more. And then come back up to the center. And we'll take the leg across. You can put the belt into the left hand and take it across straight, or you come along with me and do the bent leg, putting the right foot on the floor with the bent knee and pulling the bent leg across with the right foot resting on the left inner thigh. And coming back to the center, sliding that right leg out to straight. And then we'll bend the left leg, pulling that left thigh in. We'll be reaching long through the right leg. And getting your belt around the left foot, extending the left leg. Breathing up out through that left foot up to the ceiling, almost like you're standing on the ceiling. And then belt into the left hand, and we'll ease that leg out to the diagonal side. Maybe you don't find this such a challenging position as I do to get the leg there, especially as it gets a little colder and things get a little creakier. Letting that leg go where it can, and being patient, settling in there. And then maybe there's a little more reach through the leg, a little more flexibility, a little more awareness and refining the alignment, your feeling in the shape. Maybe a little less tension in the face and the jaw. Reach a little more through the heels. Anchor the right hip bone down just a little more. And then coming back up to the center. You can take that right leg across straight, belt into the right hand, left leg across straight. Cross bending the left leg down, foot on the floor as you pull the knee across, and that left foot lands on the inner right thigh, so we don't have the shin hanging in the air. And here we are, somewhere in a nice twist, stretching out across the left outer hip. Coming back to the center, and bringing the left leg down and sliding it out to straight. Taking a big stretch along the floor. And let's bend the knees. We'll come up in a bridge pose. Actually, we'll do the bridge pose twice. So let's come up sort of an exploratory bridge pose, seeing how our bridge pose is feeling now. Pressing the feet into the floor, lifting up. Even if you're not holding the block, looking for that drawing the inner thighs back, we'll press forward with the shins and knees. And rolling down. And then let's come up in that bridge pose once more, rolling back. Maybe using our interlock fingers on your knee. This big round breath. So how do you breathe roundly here? Is the thigh ribs, maybe that's not too hard to feel like there's a little extend there, but the back of the body, which we're actually contracting, and you nonetheless feel a spaciousness there on the inhale. And then calming down, rolling down vertebrae by vertebrae, then floor. Pull the knees in. We'll just do one or two rolling like balls. Or rolling on the floors. And then we're going to finish this by coming up into the forward bend. So next time you roll up, coming up onto your feet, or however you need to get there. And then expanding into the forward bend. Getting those long extended backs of the legs like we had in the belt. We're going to breathe down through the heels into the floor. And then also up the back of the legs to the ceiling. And a concave back, inhale and exhale, forward over. And coming up to standing, big front body yawn. And around to Namaste in front. Namaste, steadiness. And then if you need to fix something of your hair or clothing there. All right. And here we are. And let's come over. Big lift up. And diving. Concave back halfway up, folding over. We'll step back with the left leg. And turning to the elephant rider. Feet on the diagonal. And coming up to three-pointed star, rotating those thigh bones into the hip joints, reaching up through the fingertips and then reaching down through the feet. Pressing the arms parallel, turning the feet to parallel. So remember, I'm the real right and left here. As we rotate our right leg out 90 degrees. And into the warrior two. Inner thigh to inner knee to center of the foot. Dancing warrior, bringing the right arm up. Anchor that lunge as we reach up and away. And into the triangle, Trikonasana, tilting over, everything radiating out, rather like when we had our leg in the belt out to the side. We go where we can go, letting the body arrive there. And then maybe looking for a little more space, a little more extend. A little more breathing. And we'll reach back with the left arm, coming all the way up, turning the feet to parallel. Deep breath. Rotating the left leg out 90 degrees, leg toward the back of the mat. We're just going to do the same thing. Inner thigh to inner knee to center of the foot into the warrior two. And then dancing warrior, anchoring the left sitting bone down, reaching up and away, and then feeling like that lunge pulls toward the back of the mat. And into the triangle, Trikonasana, tilting over. We land where we can land with our left hand. And then maybe there's a little more. A little more, whatever there's a little more of. And this time though, instead of coming up, we're gonna reach that right arm over the ear toward the back of the mat. Take a little pull there and then let the right arm pull you down and around into the wide leg forward bend. Prasarita Padottanasana. And then from down here, we're coming back to our triangle on the right from underneath, rotating your right foot out 90 degrees, making the base of the triangle here. Then walking your hands toward the right leg, putting your right hand up on the right shin or ankle or maybe your block, and then you lift up with the left arm, a twist to the left. Let yourself come up a little extra high maybe so you can really get that right thigh bone in place. And then here we are once again in the triangle Trikonasana. I'm really feeling the twisting open to the leftness of it, but press that tailbone in the opposite direction in that outer right hip, pressing that toward the side of the mat. And we'll take a reach around with the left arm. You come down to the lunge. Stepping back to the plank. Through the Vinyasa. Downward facing dog. And then we'll take 3 deep breaths there in downward facing dog, or perhaps in child's pose, or maybe in that half dog puppy pose on a Hatasana. And then we will look between the hands to jump or step forward. Into the concave back, halfway up. Folding over. Deep breath. Coming up to standing, big front body yawn. And pressing the arms down and around to Namaste in France. Namaste, steady. And let's come over, going around with our left side leading. Coming up, big front body yawn, and diving over. Concave back, folding over. We'll step back with the right leg and turning to the elephant rider. Remember, wherever our left leg is, that's the front of the mat. And then coming up, though for the moment, kind of the side is the front. As we come up in the 3-pointed star. Radiating out those 3 points, the 2 arms, the 2 legs. Arms and right leg and left leg, that is. And then pressing the arms down, feet to parallel. And we'll rotate the left leg out 90 degrees and into the warrior number 2. Checking in with your breath. Dancing warrior, don't let the lunge come with your left arm lifting up and away though. And into the triangle trikonasana. Where is this triangle going to land first? And that's your point to deepen, expand, back off, change things. And reaching back with that right arm, coming up to standing, feet to parallel. Rotating the right leg out 90 degrees toward the back of the mat. And into the warrior number 2. And dancing warrior, right arm up and away. And into the triangle trikonasana. And exploring what's here in this triangle at this moment and at each moment with each. And then reaching with the left arm over the left ear toward the back of the mat. Long stretch. And then pulling the left arm down to bring you around to the wide leg forward bend facing the side of the mat. Pausing there. And then rotating our left leg out, we'll come into our triangle from underneath, finding that alignment there, walking the hands over toward the left leg, left hand on the leg somewhere, maybe on a block, and then a big lift up with the right side. Be giving a little extra lift up with the right side, letting that left thigh bone get into place. And then into the triangle trikonasana. We'll take a big reach back and around, coming down to the lunge, stepping back to the plank, through the vinyasa as many times as you want. Downward facing dog. And here we are in this downward facing dog of this moment. Nothing moving but the coming down, sitting back in child. Ah. And nope, unfurling the spine. Well, running out of time as always, but here we are sitting in simplified Virasana. We'll have more time if I stop talking about running out of time. Simplified Virasana, nice folding in of the legs after all that expanding triangulation. And let's ascend up onto our knees and we'll do Ustrasana, the camel pose, the bridge pose on the knees, kind of, as we lift up and over. So here in the camel pose, our head gets to extend out, the neck gets to extend out. So you can hold for one long hold or come out and come back in, whichever you want. And see if you can feel like you've got a block between the thighs. You're going to pull that block up to the pelvic floor through the core. And then we'll reach down into the floor through the knees and through the shins. And then we'll finish up with our camel posing. Back down into simplified Virasana. Inhale and exhale. And then let's come down onto the floor. So if you want a longer traditional Savasana in stillness, you could just go right there, or you can stay a little bit longer. You don't have to end when I do. Maybe we will get in a figure four. So if you're figure fouring, we're going to do it as Shavasana-like as possible. Crossing the right leg over, reaching through the triangle. Inhale and exhale. How much can you just let gravity, the weight of your arms, the weight of your legs do the stretch? Softening or closing your eyes, slowing and deepening the and switching legs. we'll all head to Shavasana. And hang on and exhale, letting. We'll just end here on the floor in Shavasana. Continue staying as long as you want, or if you need to move on into the rest of the day already, stretch the arms up overhead. And bringing hands to Namaste in front. And thank you for